Adam Forziati. I'm a senior web editor for Commercial Integrator.
Hi, I'm Jessie Steinberg. I'm marketing manager for the Total Tech Summits and Tech Decisions.
Hi, I'm Andrew Nichols. I'm the web editor for CE Pro, and we're going to be taking a look at some industrial design of loudspeakers today. So these speakers look like traditional bookshelf speakers to me. I mean, they're in a nice color, and they seem like something you could easily have in your house. I have something similar to these currently as my setup for my personal computer, so they seem perfectly nice to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I like them. They're nothing special. That being said, I do have ones that are semi-similar. They're black, not white. I'm not in love.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing that those match with in the photo photo example that they give is the lady's shirt. Yeah, I mean, for my own taste, I would probably go for the same style of speaker, but with like a wood kind of look, or just, something a little bit less bright, a little bit more neutral in color, like a gray or black, that kind of thing. They look pretty modern, I guess, if that's, a pretty general term to use, but they do look fairly modern. If you have like a very minimalistic style for your home, apartment, living space, I would say that these would work pretty well. But if you like something that's a little bit more, esoteric in its design, then maybe this would be, a little too simplified. Yeah, I feel like this is out of a cartoon. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at all. I don't know if like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is gonna start playing out of it or what, but it's both modern, I guess, but also not modern insofar as it has a horn sticking out of it. So I don't know what to think here. I don't know what I'm looking at.
I feel like I'm in a Dr. Seuss novel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like they really tried to combine a lot of aesthetics to try and please. I'm not really sure who they're hoping to buy that. But it almost looks like an old record player with a horn, and then something you find at a concert, and then it's on wheels. So just in case it's not working, you can just push it right out the door.
Yeah. Which I would.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See, like, it looks mostly normal, but then you get to the part where it seems like Salvador Dali decided to get into loudspeakers, and that's where it loses me. Like, I don't think I could reasonably explain this to any of my friends. Like, they'd come over to your apartment and be like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? That's definitely, like, there's cool stuff like having an interesting setup or even having like a gramophone kind of a situation, but this is just like far too different than anything you would really want in a house, I think. All right, so this one I don't totally hate. It seems like it has the bookshelf sort of built into the speakers. Like, you don't have to have them housed on anything. They just kind of self-contained. And that part's pretty cool. It seems pretty minimalist. I'm not sure I'm a fan of like the hinges that it sits on, but otherwise it's not super offensive.
I agree with that. I don't really hate these as much as the previous one. I do think it is really minimalist. So if you do have a more contemporary, modern style home, a lot of whites, neutral colors, I think this would do really well in your home. For my personal taste, I'm more of kind of like that mid-century modern kind of thing. So not really my taste, but I could see how some people would want it.
Yeah, you know what I said before about speaker number one being super minimal? I regret saying that because I didn't really set the bar very high for minimalism. This, I think, definitely does. So take everything I said about that speaker number one being perfectly suited for, more of a minimal, super modern look, and apply it to this because, the hard edges, the two-tone quality of the design that's like meant for somebody who just wants to, have a very clean, neat look.
Feels very 80s.
It does feel very 80s.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm going to get into like granular things here about design, which I guess the point of this video is to do that, so I would say the thing that throws me off about the housing for it is that this is a very rectangular, hard, angular shape, and then it's housed on brackets that are circular. And I feel like, okay, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. Like, I feel like these should be mirroring its shape. Maybe that's just my own, what do I know about industrial design? But that's something that's kind of odd to me at first glance. But, all in all, it is cool that it does come pre-housed, if you will. Okay, so assuming that this like design for something actually works really well, even though it's like right up against the wall, it's a really cool idea and very novel. I've never seen anything like this before. Um, I do like the personalization. I think that you have to be somebody who knows what your, decor style is, because if you're going to commit to putting this photo, you know, on a speaker that houses photos and appears to be just a print, then you want to choose a print that you really like. That being said, it's a fantastic idea, and as long as you don't forget that it's there and is a speaker and not a a photo, I think it would be perfect for those who really want a low impact uh, audio design solution for their home. Um, the only other thing I could think to say about it that's more from a balanced negative point of view is that when you think about speakers, you expect them to look a certain way, and like something like speaker one looked like a speaker, and of course the idea behind this is not to look like a speaker, but if you have friends over, if you have a significant other, any other person who would want to use this speaker besides you, that you would allow them to, they might not think to look for it if it's very, yeah. Anyway.
All right. I actually really like this. I have a question though. Is it Bluetooth enabled? So like, can you play through Bluetooth, or is it hardwired? Okay. All right. So I really like this a lot. I think that this is a really great way to incorporate a sound system into your decor if you're not like a huge audiophile. So if you're someone who, I mean, that being said, the knowing what kind of artwork you'd want on your wall is a big thing. But let's say you do. I think this is a great way to do it without having to take up shelf space, to make extra space for your speaker, and now you've added interest to your space. So I really like this. I like that it's wireless, and so like you said, even if someone doesn't know, you don't have to be hardwired in. You can just say like, oh, it's right here. Like, go ahead. And I think this is actually a huge talking piece when you have people over to your house. I think this goes hands in hand what we've seen with other TVs and stuff and how they're doing that, kind of like it kind of melding into your space versus standing out. I really like this, so I kind of want it for my apartment now.
Yeah, I really like these kind of hidden speakers where you can have something in your house that doesn't look like a speaker, but it is. You also don't need to like hire someone to run wire through your whole house if you don't want to like drill a bunch of holes, or if you're not the landlord, you don't have access to do that. You can just have something right on your wall. You don't have to worry about it. And I mean, obviously, it gives you a lot of customization options. It being wireless is very nice. And overall, I think the design is definitely something that millennials and even like Gen Z would find pretty interesting. Something that can last a while and you can move from place to place without a huge worry. So if you have a modern home or you're trying to, set up something that looks like it's out of a sci-fi movie, then these are probably great for that. I don't know if I'd necessarily use it in this particular instance here with like a bunch of brick and old wood and things like that. So it might be a little bit limiting into like where you could actually place these in your house and have it look right. But I don't think people would come over and like balk at the idea of these speakers. I think they look mostly like speakers, and I assume they function the same way.
So I actually kind of like it in this space. I think maybe because they're not white. I think the other ones that we looked at that were different were, with the exception of the horn one, were all white, and so that kind of, it doesn't matter what space you put in it. It looks very modern. It feels very contemporary. So this, though, it being black and a more traditional kind of speaker color, even though the shape isn't traditional, I think it could work in any space that you really wanted to. If you're really into that, that really could work for you. I don't know, outside of like a living room or even like an office, what room this would work for, because you really can't have this in your kitchen. You can't have it, in your dining room. I mean, and I definitely wouldn't want these in my bedroom. That's too much. So, but I do think this could work for some people.
Most people our age are not going to be living in a really large space. I mean, like apartment costs are pretty high no matter where you live in the country generally. And I just don't ever see having space until I'm in like a house kind of situation for something like this. And even then, it's a lot of space to dedicate to speakers. So I don't think it's meant for people who have space as a concern. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, that's super goofy. Not not the speakers, the person. No, yeah. So I'm really glad that a person was included in this shot. It doesn't hurt that it's a person that we actually know. Um, but it looks clownish. I'm not talking about the individual. Uh, Probably, in an age where like movies like It and It 2 are very popular, why would you want this? You know what I mean? It looks like, I don't know, it looks very clownish to me. It looks very cartoonish and not in a good way.
So for me, I wouldn't personally want this for my home, but it does remind me very much of a Jeff Koons piece, which I actually really like. So I think that if the kind of space I think that would work in is like a huge loft, like a warehouse loft that it was converted, I feel like a space like that where you have that this is the piece that you have. This is less a speaker and more a piece of work that you have in your home. I do think that Jeff Koons might endorse this. So or would have. So I mean, I don't not like it. I don't personally want it for my own home.
Yeah, I think if you didn't have the giant obnoxious red part, it would be something that would be in like a concert hall, like a giant wall of speakers kind of a thing. You'd have to have a huge space for this. Like, this is not meant for millennials or really anybody of normal means. This is not something you could put in an apartment and effectively, manage as an audio system, I don't think. I think it would draw a ton of power and just be a huge pain in the butt and is generally not worth it. Like, aesthetically, it looks mostly fine outside of that giant red part, but I don't really know what that functions as. I'm sure it's important for something. But yeah, if we're just talking about aesthetics alone, it's not something I'd personally want, but I can somewhat see the appeal if you were trying to look at it as a piece of art in a way. Okay, so yeah, this is more like what I'm anticipating owning myself, like something with like a mahogany wood grain like that looks nice. It might be cherry, I don't know. But that sort of style is definitely something that I find appealing. And again, it's sort of a classic look for a bookshelf speaker. It does what you're expecting it to do aesthetically. Yeah, and I mean, I'm guessing they're probably within the realm of possibility for a millennial to own. Yeah, I think it's a good all-purpose look.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think these are kind of your standard run-of-the-mill bookshelf speakers. They don't offend me, which is probably a good thing. I don't know why anyone would choose that kind of color, but like a cherry. I don't know. But I think it could work in a lot of houses. Yeah.
So why couldn't this like pair of speakers have been paired with the fireplace, the hearth, the proselytizing rabbit? Like, I don't know. It just seems like every one of these photos, it's just sort of a funny note to make, is that every one of these photos like pairs the speakers with the antithesis of what I would think it would be paired with. Like the wood grain against a super minimal white and gray background. Okay, fair enough. Not anybody's real concern there, but like, yeah, these are nice. These are nice. I mean, like, I would put these in a setting where, I don't have a super minimal style, just a run-of-the-mill apartment. Anybody could probably own this. I agree, though. The specific cherry that they chose for this, not feeling it. But wood grain in general, not against it.
See, now the space they put this in makes total sense.
Yeah, now that makes sense.
At first, I didn't realize these were speakers, and I thought it was like a dialysis machine.
Yeah.
I thought it was some sort of healthcare. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what that was.
Will these like beam anything at me besides sound? Yeah,
Look how much space that takes up.
Yeah.
It's the entire room.
These are enormous. These are probably at least $50,000 or more. Probably like $200,000. Yeah, I'm speechless. I feel like this is just in a hospital somewhere, in a very menacing hospital. A hospital I wouldn't want to visit. Have fun.
No. That's really it. I mean, I just don't think that these are please. I don't know who this would be pleasing to, and I think I try to put myself in everyone's shoes, but I mean, even this was actually put in a space that it makes sense for, and it still doesn't make sense. No.
Yeah, this is like if you turned a stormtrooper into a pair of speakers, and I don't know if I like that. I'm not sure that's. I don't know if that's what I want in my house. I mean, obviously, no millennial, unless they're extremely, extremely well off, is realistically going to be able to afford these. So it's kind of a moot point in that way. But just like from the design perspective, I don't know. It seems like something that would be in a hospital. If I was looking at this on my deathbed, I would think that I was in a place like a hospital. This is not what I would want to see. So no, I don't think it's an effective look for speakers for. I mean, I would assume pretty much anybody, but clearly they're made, so they must be for someone. So we've got like a reverse domino looking outside here, which I don't know if I necessarily hate it. I think the housing is pretty okay. I think it's just like it's too busy. There's too much stuff going on. Like it looks like it was made to be minimalist, but with the giant speaker on the top and why does it have to always be a contrasting color? Like this is going to be a nightmare if you're an interior designer or like, anybody that is actually trying to get their house decorated in a nice way. I don't know if this is really something that would fit in a lot of situations. It just, I don't know, it looks kind of odd. It definitely, I think a lot of these sort of audiophile looking speakers, they're supposed to like toe the line between being like amazing audio products and being a piece of art. And so I get it. It's pretty subjective, but for me, and I would assume a lot of other millennials, this is probably not going to hit the mark.
I can't speak for all millennials, but I can speak for myself. I think that being in this generation where we're quite nostalgic, we've brought records back. I mean, that's where we're at. I think this is our parents' generation, possibly, a little bit more modern. A lot of these do feel, that 80s and 90s vibe to me versus we're pulling in mid-century modern, which was the 50s and 60s here. We're going way back. This is so far above and beyond anything I think most of us would put in our home. That being said, I mean, Jeff Koons strikes again.
Yeah, to further like the art, visual art kind of comparisons here, and to further the idea that speakers can be artistic or art in and of themselves without the functionality behind them. Where a couple of these speakers have reminded you of Koons, I would say that this basically embodies the whole like Dada art movement, where you just put a number of different inspirations or elements or like subjects in a box and shake it around, and then you wind up with a composition that's pre-made for you without having to think too much about it. I feel the same way about this, except I prefer Dada artists over this. Like, I just don't get why everything is happening. It's very busy, as Andrew said. It's like, it doesn't help that like this surface is very reflective, so you can see like what you're seeing in here are all like the shadows of things over here, I assume, or like the reflections of these things wherever this space is. And so you have to like forget that this exists for a second, and even if you do, you still have this randomly large, like cartoonishly large element here, some like empty, what looks like could be mostly empty space in here, and then like a quote unquote more normal like speaker element here. I guess a woofer. Like it's very messy, it's very busy. I don't particularly enjoy looking at it. If you're going to make something very obvious that should be looked at, one should enjoy looking at it. One should enjoy having it look like it was purposely built.